February 20th, 1703. And Barbados, why is Barbados important? Well, you'll see that rum can have come from any other island other than Barbados. It's very, very important into how the sugarcane evolved and how the Brits got very, very greedy with producing that sugar, and then how it evolved to making this brilliant spirit that you're going to be drinking shortly. So rum is distilled from molasses. We chose to use molasses. You can even rum a little bit more abided that it would be really good to start, growing the sugar cane there, and it evolved. The exportation of sugar was the main business to begin with, but when they discovered by accident the molasses was when it was fermented with the yeast, it produced this really fiery liquid that made you very happy. Those Brits, they was exporting that molasses and the rum back and creating this brilliant substance that we all know now today as rum. So rum, these are some of the names that was the original names of rum. Rumbullion, which actually is a British word. I love saying the word British because, as you can hear, that I am British, and rumbullion means to have like a boisterous, jolly time. So if you was to say, oh, we're going to partake in a rumbullion, sounds very fun. And as you can see, the word got condensed down. And kill devil, that's kind of a scary word, right? The origins of this word is because it was very fiery, it was very wild, it was very unrefined. So originally, when people took this drink, they might have gone a little bit crazy. I'm not saying they act devilish, but the nickname was Kill Devil. And then Barbados water. Why Barbados water? Because we're the birthplace of rum. That's where we come from. The rum was discovered, and the oldest documents go back to Barbados. So rum's reach really grew due to the sailors, which is why we're here today. The reason why that we sponsor over 200 regattas worldwide is because the sailors helped rum grow. They went to the Caribbean, they picked up these barrels and they took it to the New World. They took it to Europe, they took it to the Americas. And it was actually it was like a badge of honor, because these sailors originally wanted to prove that they'd gone as far as Barbados. And Barbados has quite treacherous oceans. And also, if you look at the positioning of Barbados in the Caribbean, it's very near Trinidad and Tobago, but around that area is very, very rough seas. So if a sailor made it as far as Barbados, they wanted to prove that when they went back. So what was the best way to prove it? Make sure you bring a barrel of rum back with a stamp of Barbados on there. And that is exactly what they did. It was like a badge of honor. And so it was, as you know, the sailors loved the rum. They had a ration of rum every day. It was part of their daily schedule to keep morale high. Why? Because you're at sea for months and months on end without your loved one. And not only can it get lonely, having that rum made you a little bit more jolly, but it also made that stagnant water that was very foul tasting, it made it taste a bit more palatable. Add some lime in, you've got your vitamin C, you're going to prevent you from getting scurvy, and great. So it was up until 1970 that the sailors actually stopped having that ration of rum, and that became known as Black Top Day. I'm sure you sailors remember that, some of you. That it was a very sad day in history when rum wasn't a mandatory part of your job. But now it's a part of my job, and I'm not a sailor. So, as I mentioned, sailing has been a very important part of Mount Gay's history. The reason why we're here today sponsoring this regatta is because we really believe that the sailors are our core crowd. They're the people that spread the word for Mount Gay Rum. So we continue to sponsor over 200 regattas with the help of Kathy Farrell back here. If it wasn't for her, we wouldn't be doing all of this. She puts all the hard work into it. But Another thing that the sailors really love are these red caps. I'm sure you've been looking at them, and if you haven't got one, you're probably trying to bribe someone into getting one. These red caps are a sign of establishment, a sign of accomplishment. The fact that you've taken part in a regatta and you've completed it. Not anyone gets them. They tried to bribe me for them, but I don't give them up. It's very important that you take part in it, you get the red cap. And if you look at our bottle of Eclipse, which is our signature rum, it's got a red hat, and that stems from our red cap. So do we all know this gentleman here? You better do, because you're American and I'm British. So his name is George Washington. And the only time he left America was to go to Barbados. And the reason why he left was because his brother, Lawrence, he had a stepbrother called Lawrence. Lawrence had tuberculosis. And back then, the doctors advised going to a warmer climate to heal the TB. So he took Lawrence to Barbados. But while he was in Barbados, there was an epidemic of smallpox. And unfortunately, poor old George picked it up. So George had to spend a long time in Barbados. So guess what he was doing while he was on the island? He was drinking rum, but not just any rum. He was drinking Mount Gay rum. The reason why we know this, at the first presidential inauguration, the only liquid, the only spirit that was present was Mount Gay rum. He had a barrel of this shipped there. So when people ask you why you're drinking Mount Gay rum, you can tell them, well, it was good enough for George Washington. It's certainly good enough for me. We're very proud of the fact that he's our #1 fan. And as you know, after the fact, the Tea Party, they had some issues with us Brits, with taxes, something along those lines. It was more concerned with the taxation on molasses. And molasses became known as black gold because it really was exceeding the profit of just sugar, and people were getting very greedy with it. Maybe my people. That's why he kicked us out. So this gentleman here, his name is Sir John Gay Allen. The reason why we're going to be drinking Mount Gay rum is due to the credit and the craftsmanship of this gentleman here. He was a politician, but he was also a very established businessman on the island of Barbados. His heritage was British. Told you I like saying that word. But he grew up in Barbados, and he was part of the reason why Mount Gay rum is called Mount Gay. The original owners were actually called the Sober family. Is everyone registering that? John Sober. We don't know what sober means. We're in Key West, right? So the Sober family owned a distillery, but they didn't really have enough time to look after it. So what they did was they asked Sir John Gay Allen to take over, and he did an amazing job. He did such a good job that when he died in 1810, they wanted to honour him, and so they did so by taking his middle name, Gay, because there was another Mount Allen on the island. So it's not a mountain. Barbados is made of coral limestone, so it's not very mountainous, but it's a little bit rocky. So the hilltop in St. Lucie is where Mount Gay resides. Up until this day, it's called Mount Gay. So this is the original Mount Gay distilleries. So 1703, we go back to 1703. That's actually 311 years of producing and crafting rum, which we're very, very proud of. The reason why we're still here today is that we continue to use those old methods of keeping the quality and refinement, not making any shortcuts. So we have to owe this to Sir John Gay Allen, because if it wasn't for him, we might have been making rum in 2 years and adding all sorts of crazy stuff in it, but we don't do that. So 311 years this year, February 20th. An important day for us, an important day for me. It's also my wedding anniversary, so I can't forget it. So I'll make sure I toast with some Mount Gay rum. This is an image of Harrison's Cave. Have any of you been to Barbados in here? Great. If you haven't, you need to go. It's not far, but it's very, very beautiful. Now, the reason why Barbados is very unique, all the other Caribbean islands are a result of volcanic eruptions. This particular one is evolved from coral limestone through the ocean. So it just basically, over thousands and thousands of years, popped up to create an island. Now that means that the whole island has a natural filtered system that we use for our water. So all the water goes through a coral limestone filtration, and then we actually filter it a further 3 times to make it even purer for your Mount Gay Rum. As I mentioned, this is a sample of sugar cane, but we use molasses. Now, molasses was actually discovered by accident. They used to discard it. They used to think that this dark, tarry substance wasn't very favourable. It didn't look great. When they boiled and got the crystallized sugar out of the sugar cane, they used to discard the molasses. So it was actually the slaves that made use of the molasses, and it started to ferment. They're outside, they're drinking it, they know it still has some sugar in it, and they're getting a little bit of a buzz. So when they realized that the molasses had so much of maintained the sugar and the quality, it made a great perfect blend for our rum. So this is an image of our open air fermentation. So once we start with the coral filtered water, we then add the yeast. The yeast then spends a few days fermenting and creating the alcohol. And we do this all in the open air. As you can see, it looks very rustic. All of these yeast particles are producing the alcohol. Once we have that, we call that then the mash or the wash. Some people will be familiar with that. This is an example of our copper pot that we use. Now, the reason why we use copper is that steel doesn't really impart much flavour, but copper does. It's a traditional bin. Now, the copper is really what creates our character. It really what makes it very wild and kind of fun. It gives it its personality. So when one of these copper pot still dies, they really believe that they have to replicate the exact state that the old one was in. So if the old one had some dents and dings in it, they would kick the same dents and dings in it because they believe that's what really makes the quality of the rum. So we're very traditional. We don't bring in the new stuff and forget the old. We like the fact that the copper imparts the character to our rums. So before the rum is actually blended and placed in the barrels, it goes through 2 different methods of distillation. I mentioned the copper pot still, but we also use a column still. Now the column still literally produces a single distillate. Now what that means is it literally just goes through a column once and it creates a single distillate. The single distillate is very subtle in aromatics, but it's very high in alcohol content. So we need the character from the copper pot still to give it the aromatics, but we also need the high alcohol level in the column still to give it that kick that you're all enjoying, or shortly will be enjoying after I finish my presentation. So all of our rums are a blend of single and double distillation that create the balance. But our master blender, he won't tell you what that ratio is. So please don't ask me what it is, because he won't tell me. He's been with the company for 15 years, and that's the reason why he doesn't share the secret. He took 1 year out. His name's Alan Smith. You're going to see him shortly. And Alan said he went to Coca-Cola. I said, why? He said, oh, I wanted a change. So I said, but you was only there for a year. And he said, well, they wouldn't let me change the recipe. So obviously Coca-Cola won't change the recipe, but Mount Gay allows him to alter the ratio slightly, so we get these magnificent different blends and unique expressions from Mount Gay rum. So his famous saying is, it's ready when it's ready. Now the reason why he says it's ready when it's ready is that when you finish with the distillation, it's blended. We don't really like to talk about how long we leave it in the barrel. The reason why that is that in Barbados, the heat plays an amazing role in speeding up the maturation of the taste profile. So if you can imagine, the actual temperature in Barbados is 80 plus all year round. So the chemical reactions, if our liquid was left in Scotland, like a lot of scotch or even a cognac, it would definitely be colder. It would take longer to mature. The heat speeds up the maturation, so the taste tastes mature and it's ready when it's ready, when Alan Smith says. Here's Alan. Alan Smith, he's our current master blender. Been with the company for a long time, great guy. His background is biochemistry and microbiology, and he actually noses all of those barrels every 6 months. So he actually has to check to see, just through smelling, whether they're ready. I said to him, do you drink all day? He said, no. It's all about the nose. And that's a real art, to be able to just smell when it's ready. Because I tried it and I wasn't very good. So as I mentioned, the single distillates, they have lighter aroma and shorter legs. When you talk about the legs, it's really when you swirl the glass around. If the legs fall down quickly, it means there's more single distillates. So it's lighter. The viscosity is thicker when you have the double distillates. So they're bolder. When you talk about the longer legs, it means the legs take longer to descend down the glass. So if you ever do get the chance to swirl the glass and check out, you can actually see what the blend of double and single distillates are. I know what you're thinking. How long is she going to talk for? So, here's a lovely picture of all of our rums. I'm going to briefly talk you through them so that we can start the fun stuff, which is really the drinking. So, banana. Ripe banana is one of our signature notes. When you taste our rums, we've got 4 distinct aromatics. Now, ripe banana is said to come from the copper pot still, but it also comes from the charring in the barrel. We use American white oak barrels from Kentucky. So I'll let you all guess what was in them before. Another one of our signature notes is sweet almonds. The sweet almonds also come from the barrel. And it all depends on the charring of the barrel, but we definitely get a nutty note when you taste the rums. This is an image of mocha, coffee. Some taste mocha, but then when you taste our older rums, they actually taste chocolatey, very, very smooth. So the last one is a vanilla bean. The vanilla pops out straight away, it hits you. It's from that American white oak barrel. Now, all of our rums, all of those aromatics come through the process. The coral filtered water, the molasses, the caramel, the sweetness comes from the molasses, the distillation process, all imparts a different character to the rum. And it's really through that process that we get all these notes which create what we call the body of the rum. Each rum has its own body and its own character. So Eclipse. How many of you know Eclipse? Yay! Everyone in here should know Eclipse. It's our benchmark rum. It's been around since 1910 when there was a solar eclipse. I'm glad you're not that old. I'm not that old either. But it's been around a long time. And because of that, it really is what sets the standard for premium rum. It's a balanced medium rum, which goes really well in a lot of different mixers. Here we've been having it with ginger, tonic water, soda. It also really does a great rum punch. But Eclipse is our most popular rum. The notes that you get, apricot, banana. You also get a little bit of slightly oaky notes. But I'm sure what you taste is what you get from that rum, and it's very, very popular. We're very proud of it. So silver. Now, when we produce our silver rum, most rums that are clean and white haven't actually been aged, because when the colour imparts into the barrel, it's because of the fact that it's been left to age in the barrel. But we actually age our silver rum up to 2 years, and then we filter it. We carbon filter it to take out the colour to make it pure silver again. So this is called Eclipse Silver. It has some peppermint notes, a little bit of fruity floral notes, but it's perfect in a mojito, something you can mix with Coca-Cola, but it's a very, very fresh but packs a little bit of a punch. So it's a great, pure, clean rum that advertises our coral filtered water. We've jumped to extra rolled. We've missed out Black Barrel. I'm going to come back to that because that's our newest one. So extra rolled is actually our most awarded rum. This rum received the most awards out of all the rums that there are out there. So this is the rum that rums want to be when they grow up. They look up to XO. So it's aged between 8 to 15 years in American oak bourbon barrels. And the reason why it's very different and why it's highly awarded is because to actually make a rum that's aged to taste this good is an art form. Because if you leave a liquid in a barrel, it can actually taste very tannic. It can taste harsh because the oak can actually like rot and it can taste very sharp. So our master blender picks those rums between the ages of 8 to 15 years to make a very, very rich and opulent liquid that is, instead of the ripe banana, it's actually gone to cooked banana. Instead of the almond, it's like toasted almond, toasted vanilla. So for me, this is like Christmas. It's very pastries and it's like, I love it. As you can see, I'm a little bit passionate about it because it's my favorite. I know I'm not meant to be biased, but I am. And I love this. It's a perfect sipping rum, something you treat people to, which I did at Christmas. So we're going to come to our last rum on the top of our portfolio, which is called 1703, which unfortunately we haven't got this evening, but you can definitely purchase it at many liquor stores all around the country. So 1703 is named after our heritage, because we've been going since 1703. Now 1703 really is a blend of the finest of our single and double distillates. And what that means is our master blender picks 40 to 44 of our distillates that have been aged, single and double, up to 30 years. So it's a blend of rums between 15 and 30 years. And if you know anything, has anyone heard of the angel share? Okay, what that means is the angels get high off of our supply. Okay? They literally love that evaporation. We lose up to 12% of evaporation from the barrel every year. So you can imagine a barrel that's been sitting in that warm warehouse in Barbados for 30 years. There's not much liquid left, but it's very, very concentrated. The oakiness, all of those characters that we love about Mount Gay have been saturated in that barrel for a long time. So we blend it with younger ones, 15 to 30 years, so that it can actually be palatable and we can fill a bottle. And that's why this is an old cask selection. A limited amount of these bottles. You get some maple syrups. You get a little bit more leather notes, a little bit more more smoky because it's been sitting in the barrel for longer. Now, I'm bringing you to our newest rum, which is called Black Barrel, which we have here in abundance for you to enjoy, which my beautiful assistants here are about to pour for you. Now, Black Barrel was only launched last year in March, only in America. The rest of the country, the world, are very upset that they haven't got it yet. They're going to get it in April. But we've got it here now. This is different from all of our other blends. And the reason why it's different is that we use, remember I talked about those double distillates? They pack a punch, they have character, they're very bold. We use much more of the double distillates from the copper pot still, and we also age it in 2 different barrels. So the first barrel that we age it in is a whiskey barrel that was lightly toasted. Now this whiskey barrel had whiskey in it, and it marinates the liquid for up to 7 years. And then we finish it off in a heavily charred bourbon barrel. Now this bourbon barrel imparts a smoky pepper note. So really this is kind of like our spiced rum. It's very spicy. It's 86 proof. Hopefully you're all going to get a sip of this very soon. But this is really, really what we're excited. Alan Smith, our master blender, developed this and called it Black Barrel because of the 2 barrels that it matured in. So you're going to get the fruity notes. This side are getting very jealous that they haven't got theirs yet. So now you've had the opportunity to actually learn a little bit about Mount Gay. We're going to let you taste our 2 of our popular expressions, the XO, which is our highly awarded one, and the Black Barrel. So we like to say at Black Barrel, at Mount Gay, there's a time and a place. And the time is 1703, and the place is the beautiful island of Barbados. So thank you very much for your support. And I'm here if you want to ask questions and enjoy some rum with me. Thank you very much.